September, 11 p.m. Okay, the recording has started. Let's get started now. Okay, so in this lab today, what we're going to look at is scale your video insights pipeline using Cloud Run Jobs, BigQuery, and Gemini. So what are we going to do here? So all of these sessions this season we've been talking about using Gemini CLI, using Cloud Run to accelerate the development and the delivery process of your data-driven or AI or agentic applications. This one in particular, we are going to do something similar, but we are going to look at a different kind of data set, which is video data. Right. So what is the challenge? We're tasked with processing a large catalog of video content. So in this case, it's not a large catalog. I'm just going to insert 7 rows. You're all going to insert 7 rows along with me. But imagine this in a situation or in a production environment where you have a lot more content to deal with. This is a prelude to something bigger. This is a learning exercise, or this is a prototype for something that you want to execute in your workplace or in your your startup, or something that you're working on for yourself, right? So what do we want to do? We want to we want to build an application that will analyze videos and translate those into educational material, like a book chapter, each one into a chapter of a book, including titles, context, step-by-step instructions, technologies used, just like the code labs that we are looking at. But the recording, the the data that I've used here is the video recording from season 10. So that's the data we are going to leverage. I could have used all of those previous seasons as well, but the recordings and other things were lengthier and also different formats. So I just wanted to stick with sample data. So we went with just one season's video recordings as a data set for this use case itself. All right. So what is the challenge and opportunity here? The challenge is to process this, but not one record at a time. We don't want to process one URL at a time. We want to process one URL at a time. It's pretty straightforward, right? It's simple. You'll all build an application that will take the video data, and you'll use some logic. You'll have some context. You'll have some templates. You'll have some Q&A and reference material, and then you'll say translate into this. That's it. But what's the challenge there? When you want to do this in a production environment or in a bulk data set or in a batch mode, list of thousands of hundreds of thousands of data, that's where the limitations kick in, because you don't want single request, single response model. You want to use it in a parallel fashion, but at the same time, you want to ensure there's resilience, there is availability, and all of those things, the observability and everything is available inherently, or that's fully managed for you. So that's the opportunity, and that's why we're going to do this today. We want to transform a manual or a slow sequential process into an automated parallelized workflow, and we're going to use Google Cloud Tech Stack for this. So we are using Gemini's power for sophisticated content analysis. There is no second thought about it. We are not going to, that the whole point is how we are managing the operations and getting it to work, rather than how we are implementing the video analytics itself. Of course, you can ask me, like, I have a different set of algorithms or different processing techniques. Where will I insert this in this architecture? So we'll get to all that in a bit. But what we have to do is clear now. So we are going to use Gemini to process that, but we're going to use Cloud Run and Cloud Run Jobs to execute, to do the processing for us in parallel. And we also have a robust pipeline that is established to manage failures, to be resilient in cases where you have made a mistake in the data setup and stuff like that. So how robust is your pipeline? So that's something we'll see today. All right. One approach we have taken is to decouple orchestration from processing. Processing is separate. Our processing pipeline lives separately, not a pipeline or an implementation lives in Cloud Run functions. Our orchestration is the Cloud Run job that's actually orchestrating the whole thing. And then we have an application which takes these two things and then runs a parallel processing application in between as well, which is actually bridging the gap between the Cloud Run jobs and the decoupling mechanism, the video processing implementation itself. So what is the use case? The use case is the AI-powered insights from previous Code Vipassana session videos. We want our outputs in the following format, like titles, context, what will be built, technology, step-by-step instructions, so on and so forth. What is the flow? So we have BigQueries. So main the thing that I forgot to mention, the source, the database choice for our application is BigQuery, or data warehouse, because of course we have established that we're going to do multi-model analytics. Of course, BigQuery is our ideal choice. We've discussed this several times in previous seasons as well. It's our planet scale data warehousing service that is able to store multi-model data, not just relational, not just text, not just structured data, but also data in the form of document. Like when I say documents, it's semi-structured data, like JSON documents format, or embeddings vector format, or image in the form of external tables, whatever it is. BigQuery is able to support that for you. So that's what we're going to use as our source table, and Cloud Run Job as our orchestrator. And then we have a Cloud Run service, which does the URL processing, and then finally the response goes back to BigQuery, the same table that we're going to deal with. Yeah. So we've already discussed about Cloud Run and Cloud Run jobs. Take a look at the code lab for more details about what's the difference, when to use what, and stuff like that. We're going to get started with the lab itself. Yeah. All set? Show of hands. Okay, thanks for confirming. Now, make sure you have your Google Cloud Console open, and your dash on your and the dashboard page is showing, or the landing page is showing. If you're not able to see this, click the Google Cloud logo and make sure you come back to the landing page and you're able to see your active project that you want to build your applications on showing in the project pickup. Right? So let's get started. Go to step 2 in the code lab. Make sure you have your code lab open. Go to step 2 before you begin section. So we have completed the first 4 steps. All we have to do now is the last one, which is enable the required APIs. So as always, the hyperlink is there. Right click, copy the link address, and come back to the window where you have this Google Cloud Console tab open. Open another tab. Make sure you're logged into the same email account where you have your Google Cloud project created and credits activated. Again, from the link, remove all the UTM links unnecessary. Just take those out. And one small change, here in the API list, it says AlloyDB. Instead of that, just change it to BigQuery. Yeah, and hit enter. I'll paste this link here in the chat, meeting chat. Please use that. Otherwise, it's not an issue. You'll anyway open BigQuery and you can enable it at that point. But this is required if you have not enabled these APIs in the past. Yeah. So I've pinged that link. Once you click that link or copy paste it in the right, make sure that you're logged into the right email account. The email account where you have leveraged the credits and the email account where you've opened the browser tab with this link should be one and the same. Otherwise, your credits won't be active for this. So make sure you're in the same email account and Google Cloud Project, and click next. Confirm project and click next. You should see all of these APIs: BigQuery, Compute Engine, Cloud Resource Manager, Service Networking, Cloud Run Admin, Cloud Build, Cloud Functions, Vertex AI, all of those listed. Click enable button and give it a few seconds. Okay, my enablement is complete. Show of hands. Great. Now you can close that extra tab that we opened for enabling. Go to step 3. We want to set up our database, that is warehouse in this case, because we're using BigQuery. Of course, for storage, source and destination. Yeah. Okay, we'll come back to the schema later. First, let's create a data set. So the way it works in BigQuery is, we'll see that in a bit. Let's go to the Cloud Console. You make sure you see your project, and right next to that is a search bar. Go ahead and type BigQuery. Just BigQuery, no space. BigQuery. And click the product that shows in the auto suggest. You should be able to see BigQuery open up. And go to the untitled query tab that's showing in your SQL editor. or what we call as BigQuery Studio. Now, we have to create data set. If you see right here, you have your project ID. This is not your project ID, by the way. This is your project name. If you click the project picker, you have your project ID on the right hand side. In my case, my ID and the project name are same because at the time of creation, I consciously deleted all the numbers in the end and made sure the ID is short. If not, you have to click the project picker and make sure you copy your project ID and save it somewhere so you can come back and take it whenever you need it. Now, go to the code lab, step 3, scroll down, the code snippet, the SQL snippet, the DDL snippet is there in the end. Copy that entire snippet, come back and paste it here. Let's see what it does. The first step is creating your data set for the project. What is a data set? It's very similar to database in any other database that you're using. Whatever you use, you first create your, in other cases, you build cluster, like in AlloyDB scenario, which we did in the last session, right? We created cluster, we created instance, and then we created a database, and then we created a table, and then we inserted. But this is BigQuery, which is a serverless database, which means all of this is already managed for you. You don't have to create a cluster instance and all that. All you just have to do is create a data set, which is equivalent to creating a database. So let's create the database using a query. You can also use the console to create your database, or sorry, data set, by expanding your project ID, clicking the vertical ellipsis and clicking create data set. That's an option, but since I've already pasted the DDL for you, let's go with this and replace the angle brackets, your project ID, with your actual project ID, which we just copied and pasted somewhere else. Just paste it here and replace the project ID enclosed by angle brackets. So now that is done. So just select that create schema query, the first query alone, first DDL statement alone, and run it. So what we're doing is we are creating a data set called CV-metadata, which is code Vipassana metadata, just something to represent the data that we are ingesting. And location for the data set that you're using, we have chosen US Central 1. Description for the data, as I just told you. So now the data set is created. If you want to check, you can expand your project ID in the left Explorer pane and expand CV metadata data set. There's nothing. We have not created a table, which we're going to do right now. If you see, there is a create table statement right below that, which is also a DDL, which is data definition language statement. Select that statement and click run. What we're doing here is we are creating a table called post session labs with the fields or columns, ID, description, URL, context, and status. ID will be the row ID or unique identifier for the YouTube link. Description, what that session is about. URL is the YouTube link for the video. Context, this is the output field where we want to store the entire chapter information. Status is used for processing. So we have created all of these things. Show of hands, how many of you got? Okay, sounds good. What errors are that? Location specified in query is not consistent with current execution region. You can change the region if you want, but remember which region you're yeah, also execute the queries one by one. That is also important. I'm just trying to think why you're, I mean, because it's the first time you're creating this data set, it should not show you. If that is a problem, just click the vertical ellipsis, create data set, and choose the region from the list. Whatever is available for you, you'll be able to choose from here. You won't get that error. Maybe you already have an existing data set and you click that data set and you click the plus button. It's a possibility that you open a query editor tab with a specific region already set. Then if you try to change the region within the tab, it might throw that error. So you can just come out of all the tabs and click the project that you've chosen and go ahead and update this. Select default region to store your code assets. You can actually do that as well, but I would think that's not required. See if you have a default region set. That could be preventing you from choosing that. All right, so how many of you successfully created the links? I'm sorry, created the table and data set? Show of hands, please. Okay. Okay, let's get going. Like I said, if you have a default region set up for all your projects in the project setting in BigQuery, please change that. Like click the project ID, the vertical ellipsis next to it, change by default code region. If it is selected, so if it has something selected by default, remove it. You don't need a default region. And then try creating your data set and your table, or you can create a data set right from the Explorer pane itself by clicking create data set and choosing your region that's available for you here. All right, now going back to the code lab, go to step 4, data ingestion. Now it's time to add the data. So copy the sample data that's there in the code snippet area, paste it here in your tab, open a new tab from the right data set, and click run. So if you see what is there in the data or in the data set that you just see in the insert queries, it has 7 IDs, session IDs, and 7 projects, GenAI to agents. Every single session that we did last season, which is season 10 of Code Vipassana, and that sessions titles and their respective YouTube links of recordings. Thanks to one of our Google Cloud, one of our Code Vipassana leads, Mohit, who created these YouTube videos. So he recorded those videos. Those are like seamless one-shot recorded videos. So you can refer. I mean, those are interesting projects if you want to try out season 10 sessions. If you didn't attend season 10, it's a very interesting season if you like. It's fully agentic. We built agents, basic agents, multi-agents, MCPs, A2As, um, end-to-end applications with agents and tools and all that. Anyway, not trying to go on a tangent here, but just giving you a background about the metadata that we are using today, or the data that we're using today. Go ahead and click run. It should insert 7 rows, just 7 rows in your database. Sorry, in your table. All right, so it is going on. And hopefully done. Let's see. Yeah, mine is done. Now I'm removing this query from the editor. Show of hands, how many of you got the data inserted? Okay, perfect. Thank you. So now there's one thing that's the additional that we need to do. If you remember, just do a select start from the table that we just created, CV underscore metadata, which is your data set, dot the table that we created, which is post session labs. So click that and do a select start from query. You will see some additional fields which are empty currently, which is status and context. So we didn't update the status field in the insert query. So let's do it right now. So update CV metadata dot post session labs set status equal to pending where ID is not null. So I'm going to give you this DML in the chat. Please go ahead and run this. This is important. So this statement should modify all the 7 rows. So now there is only one field in your table that is empty, which is the context field, which is what we intend populating as part of this process. So now I'm going to run a select star from CV metadata dot post session labs. So once you update, make sure you see all the 7 rows with status showing pending, all caps. It's an update statement which is missed in the code lab and updated right after the session. Don't worry about it. I mean, the update is on the fly. I just noticed today that it didn't go through the commit didn't go through, so the update is not showing in the code lab. But that's why I'm sending it here in the chat. I've pinned that update statement. So if the table is not found in your US Central, it means you've probably opened or created it in a different region and opened a tab in US Central region, or you missed creating step 3, which is the table that we just created. So go to step 3, create schema, run that separately, and then run the second. If you just created the schema but forgot to create the table, then it's a problem. You have to run both one by one. Run the first DDL or first query SQL statement, and then run the second SQL statement to create the table in the data set that we just created. So if your table is not showing up or it's missing, it's because you probably missed out the second step, which is table creation step. So run both. Once you run both, go ahead and do the data ingestion. If table is not there, your data ingestion step itself would have failed. Once you've ingested data, before going to step 5, run an update statement, which I've pinged in the chat. Yeah, so if you created that schema, so see, you have not created the table. That's why. That's what I've been repeatedly saying. You have to run both the statements one by one. Only then your table will reflect. All right, so moving on. We have created the table. We have show of thumbs, show of hands. How many of you updated the table for status field to show as pending? Perfect. Thanks for confirming. Yes. So dataset table must be qualified with a dataset. That's an obvious error. It's very self-explanatory. It has to be dataset.table. Where are you referencing? Where do you find a query without a dataset prefix? In all my queries, we have the dataset prefix. The only one that is not there in the code lab, I've pinged here in the chat, which is update statement, which is important. Please run the update statement so that your status field is updated to pending, all caps. Yeah, Tejal, you have to paste the query that you're trying to run. Seems there's some mess up in the DML statement that you're running. All right. So we've confirmed that most of you have completed updating. If there is an error, like similar to the one that Tejal is pinged here, that seems that it's very evident that the statement, the DML itself is not complete. Yeah. For folks who are getting that error where prefix dataset is not there or a table must be prefixed with its dataset, just know that always in BigQuery, you have to prefix your table name with dataset name. Yeah, Vimal, we crossed the billing activation and project and billing association step. Please go through the recording later or use the document which I sent earlier that has the steps to associate your project and billing account. Select list must not be empty. Select star from. Your query is wrong, Pranay. It's select star from. Select star from CV metadata. I've pinged the select query as well. Sorry, I assume that we all know select query, so it's my bad. It's select star from update. Sorry, not update. Ignore that select statement that I sent. It's select star from CV metadata dot post session labs. So running this query after you've inserted and updated the table should result in the 7 rows with the status field set as pending. Now, can you show that you have completed these steps and your status is showing as pending in caps? Show of hands, please. Okay, thank you for confirming. Let's go to the code lab. Let's go to step 5, video insights function creation. Very important. This is the part where we are going to create remember the video processing component that we want to build. The crux of the essence of the application, which is going to take the URL as input, process the video, and throw the output in the format that we earlier looked at, the chapter format. But here we are going to define it in a JSON output. All right. So let's go ahead and create Cloud Run functions. So how are we going to do that? Go to your Google Cloud console where you are already, where BigQuery is open. You should see Google Cloud logo in the top left corner. Right click, open link in new tab. Make sure it's opening with the same email account that you have signed up in the first tab. Make sure it's showing the right project that you're currently on and it's active. Now, in the search bar, go ahead and type Cloud Run Functions. You should see Cloud Run and Cloud Run Functions both. Click that. Either way, it will take you to Cloud Run page. So you should see services on top, followed by deploy container option, followed by connect repo option, followed by write a function option. So we want to write a function because we are going to write one standalone program that will take as input a YouTube URL as an input, and it will process it and give you a JSON output, which has the chapter content that we have defined initially or discussed initially. We'll define it now. All right. From the option that shows up, once you click write a function button, the fourth button on top, you should see the page that you see in my screen right now, which says create a service, but with three options. We are not going to deploy from container. We are not going to continuously deploy. We are just going to write the code in an inline editor itself. So click the third option and configure. What is the service name? Go to the code lab and copy the same service name, which is there in step 5, point number 3, the text in bold, generate -video -insights. Don't copy the stars, the asterisks, just copy the text. Generate -video -insights. And region, make sure you choose the same region that you chose in BigQuery. If it is US Central, choose US Central. If it is just US, choose US multi-region, whichever one you chose there. I chose US Central there, so I'm choosing US Central here as well. The endpoint URL, it will show what your output will look like. So copy that and save it somewhere because we will use it later in the rest of the steps. Runtime, so we want to write it in Python. Choose Python 3.11. Wait, it's Python or Java? I think I wrote it in Python. Yeah, it's Python 3.11. Choose that. And authentication, for now, choose allow public access. Ideally, for your production applications, you will use identity and access management to either set up or to set up through service account any other way. Right now, allow public access. And what else needs to change? Nothing else. Just go ahead and click create. It will take a little time, like a few seconds, and there we go. You should see the creating service processing sign, and you should also see your Cloud Run function inline editor open with boilerplate code pre-populated in your main.py and requirements.txt. This is very convenient for standalone single page applications, which you can quickly get going with and then get an endpoint for and share it across your applications, either microservices or anything that you're using to build out your end-to-end. So let's wait for this routing traffic step and other step to complete, and then your function will be good to go. We'll have to change the code snippets here. Meanwhile, while it's going on, let's go back to the code lab and see what exactly this is doing. So in step number 5, point number 9, you have two hyperlinked texts, main.py and requirements.txt. Right click main.py and open link in new tab. You should see the GitHub repo where I've shared this Python code, which we'll copy and paste in our main.py in this Cloud Run function that's still deploying with that boilerplate code. So what exactly is it doing? We have a prompt template which takes the YouTube URL variable as input, and it will go through a bunch of understanding what it needs to take from the video and what it has to analyze and what it has to deliver and what its JSON structure should look like. That's what we're doing in our prompt. And here in the main part of the code, we are invoking that method. That's all we are doing. Yeah, here, processed videos batch. And in processed videos batch, we are calling the prompt that we have declared before. We're using that prompt and we're using Gemini 2.5 Flash. You have to change this project ID angle bracket placeholder with your actual project ID. And then you print the response. We are not doing much with the response. We are just printing it here, nothing else. Which means it will return to the parent that is invoking this function. That's all. All right. So what you're going to do right now is go back to the Cloud Run Functions console and see that it is ready. You have 3 green checks and you're ready to change the code. Now Control A, delete, go to your GitHub repo, copy the main.py code and paste it in main.py. There's only one thing you need to change there, which is project ID, I think. Search for angle bracket project ID and replace the project ID with your project ID. Like I said, click project picker and on the right hand side of the project name of the active project that you're in right now, you see the project ID value. Copy that. That's the value you need to replace this with. Yeah. Replace it. Location, again, make sure if it's US Central, keep it US Central. If it is something else that you chose at the time of creation of BigQuery, make sure you change that here as well. Not just BigQuery, also the Cloud Run function. Make sure you change that here as well. That's pretty much it. You don't change anything else. As you can see in the code, you are using Gemini 2.5 Flash, and we are invoking the prompt here, which we have declared on top to process and deliver the video in the JSON format that we want. Now, before you click save and redeploy, we have requirements.txt. We have to invoke the dependencies here. So again, go to the code lab, right click requirements.txt, open in new tab and see what we have there. Functions framework is fine. We also have Google-Gen AI. So copy that dependency and paste that dependency name here and then click save and redeploy. Okay. It will take a few seconds to deploy. Meanwhile, show of hands, I mean, if you are waiting for the deployment to complete, just like I am right now. Which step, Jashwant? What to select in billing section? What do you mean billing section? So Jaswant, in step 5, what we're doing right here is it's there very explanatory in the code lab itself. I cannot execute the steps because my Cloud Run function is deployed. But what we're doing here is basically we are creating a standalone Cloud Run function, which will just a standalone program, a one-page program, which will take URL as the input, YouTube video URL, process it, and deliver a JSON format content, which we have defined originally. And that's all it's doing. For that, we are using some dependencies. We are using Google-Gen AI package because the SDK, because we are using it. We're doing it with Gemini 2.5 Flash. So the steps to create a Cloud Run function is listed in step 5 of the code lab. Just follow that as it is. Make sure you're choosing the right region, which is same as the region you use to create your BigQuery dataset. That's the only catch here. And once you copy paste the code for main.py and requirements.txt, make sure you change your project ID and region to match with your project ID and the region in case it's different from US Central 1. Otherwise, whatever is there should be valid. And once you've made all the changes for requirement.txt and main.py, click the save and redeploy function button, and then the deployment will kick off. It'll take a few seconds, and my deployment is going on. It's creating revision. Building is done. I got a green tick mark for building, which means it's successful. Updating service is successful. Creating revision and routing traffic will take a few seconds, and once that is done, we'll be all set to test this function. I hope this helps. Abhishek, I don't know what your question is. What do you mean? Request based or instance based? Yeah, keep it request based. No change in that, just by default value. What do you mean you're not able to change main.py? It is showing your login. I I don't know what is my login. We are not using my project name anywhere here. You have to edit source if you want to change something, if you haven't already done it. File you opened from CodeLab. Yeah. So let me go back to the file I opened from CodeLab, main.py. Where is it showing my project name? It's not showing my project name. It says your project ID right here. You copy it, you paste it. Yeah, your project ID. You have to replace that with your project ID. And then choose a location. All right, so let's keep going. And the steps are detailed in step number 5. Tejal, I hope that'll help you. You have to go to Cloud Run Functions. Yes, that is correct. It's there in step 5, point number 1. There is a link to Cloud Run page, which you have to open and write that function. Show of hands, how many of you got your deployment done? Cloud Run Functions. All right, ready to test? Yeah, can we test it? Okay, go ahead and test it. We are running short of time, so let's get going. Okay, let's get going and testing it. Go ahead and click. So you see the Cloud Run function, right? You see what the input format is. You have name as the input format, input JSON. So name is what you have to pass in for the video URL. So if you want a sample URL, take one of the data that you just inserted. Take one of the rows. Do you have the BigQuery tab open, right? Do the select star from cv underscore metadata dot post underscore session underscore labs query. Run that SQL. You will get multiple URLs. Choose the first one or whatever one you want, whatever one is showing up, and come back here. In the Cloud Run Functions console, there is a test button. Click the test button. The step is optional. Testing is purely for the sake of ensuring that your Cloud Run function works, right? So replace the value of developer, the value of name key as the YouTube URL that you just copied. So it should look like the one that I have in my payload in the screen that I'm sharing. And then click test in Cloud Shell. So now it will log into your Cloud Shell terminal with the curl command typed and ready to go for you to kick off. Enter. So now, as you can see in my screen, I hope you all can see my screen where it says it has loaded the command curl post the URL that was deployed from my Cloud Run function, along with the authorization, along with the content type, along with the JSON request body, which is name followed by the YouTube URL. So I'll hit enter and my Cloud Run function is not working because it's not logged into my this thing. So yeah, I have to change the project ID because I'm on a different, the Cloud Shell terminal that has loaded with a different project. So now what I'm going to do is right above that, you can see that the gcloud command, there's a gcloud command to configure your project. So I'm going to type that. If you're encountering this, please do that. If you don't, awesome, just continue testing. So gcloud space config space set space project followed by the project that I wanted to focus on, which is CVS Life 11-ABI. In your case, whatever is your project ID, paste that and hit enter. So now it has reset my project. As you can see here, previously it was loaded with the old project. Now I loaded the new project that I want to work on. Yeah, so this is the command for that. Gcloud config set project. This is already there in the first before you begin step. We skipped past that because at that time this was not required, but you can go back and do it. So if you're also encountering a problem like mine where you're either you're showing a wrong project ID there or an old project ID, or there's no project ID showing at all, so you run this gcloud command with your project ID in the placeholder text. All right. All right. So now what we're going to do is, where is my Cloud Run function? Okay. So now I've set my project. So let's go ahead and run this. Okay, it's not logged in for me. It's not authorized. So I'm going to run gcloud auth login, which is a command. It is showing right above that line, if you can see in my screen. So you may have to also do this because it's been a while since Cloud Shell is logged in. So it's logged me out. So for authorization purposes, I'm going to run this command again. It's right above that in the command line itself. So copy that and paste it. Gcloud auth login. If you're facing this, if you're not facing this, if you're able to run the function, fine, carry on. Do you want to continue? Yes, I want to continue. And then it'll ask me to authenticate. Click the link, choose the email account, and then I'll continue. And then I'll allow, and then I'll copy the code. I'll close this and come back and paste the verification code. And I hit enter. There we go. We're all set. I'm going to run my function now, which is what happened to the curl command? Okay, the curl command is missing. Let me test it again. Test YouTube Western Cloud Shell. There we go. It's loaded now. I'm hitting enter. So now it's processing. It has loaded some unnecessary text in my thing. I'll just remove the old commands from here. Just give me a moment. Okay, there we go. I'm executing my Cloud Run function. Third time is the charm. It's running. It's running. It's running. So technically what is happening here is while it's running and getting me the result, it's still in progress. Allow me a moment to explain what this main.py is doing. So if you see the prompt template, it is taking an external URL that you're passing in, and maybe the prompt is incomplete, maybe the prompt is not detailed, or maybe the program itself needs more context. Anything may happen, but that's not the focus today. Whatever you define here, it will do, because it's kept as simple as that. I didn't want to complicate the processing bit itself, because the main goal for us is to do something else, which is to see the Cloud Run jobs, which we'll get to in a bit. But now I've got my result. As you can see right here, it has generated the JSON output with everything that I asked it to do. As you can see, it's a lengthy chapter. It has the chapter title, which is automating serverless deployments with Cloud Run and Cloud Build, based on the URL that I've sent. And this section provides a hands-on serverless web application. Really? Interesting. Okay, it has understood what it can from the YouTube video, and it has given the whole chapter. It has given some code snippets as well, all from the video, whatever it could understand. And then it has also given me the um, question and answer format, everything that's defined in the prompt. It is created here. All right. And it has also done self-correction. And finally, it has given a final output for the title and all that to it. Pretty detailed. Okay. Yeah. So whatever is defined, I don't know if the YouTube URL does all these things, but it has come up with something. Anyway, either way, the input and output, and this is all I want you to look at, what this YouTube URL is doing and what it has been processing. All right. So let's get going. We are not going to validate the effectiveness or the accuracy of this itself, because that's not the focus today. You have to take those measures to come with an agreement of what model you want to use, whether the request is being passed correctly and all that behind the scenes. For now, we want to ensure that the YouTube URL that you've passed is being accepted and is being processed and gets you the result. Yeah. So as you can see right here, I've invoked the URL as a string and prompt template as a string. And here we've invoked Vertex AI on for Gemini 2.5 Flash, and it has executed what we've asked it to. Show of hands, how many of you got this step done? Okay, great. We'll finish it. We didn't talk about Gemini CLI here at all. All right, now moving on, we have to move to the next step. We'll come back to questions later. Please go through everything, all the steps that we did until this point. Everything is in the code lab except one point, which is in step 4, data ingestion. We've inserted an update statement here in this list, which is not there in the code lab, which is there in the pinned message in the chat. This is to set your status field as pending. That's the only difference. Otherwise, everything else is there in the code lab. Next step is pipeline application development. So now we know that the Cloud Run functions is deployed. It has generated something, some output based on your input. Now we are going to step 6, which is pipeline. So we have created Cloud Run function. We know that we have to create a Cloud Run job, but we need to integrate the pipeline application development, right? The pipeline that orchestrates these. So let's see how we're going to do that. So for that, I'll directly ask you to go to the GitHub repo, which was linked in the, you have that GitHub repo open for the Cloud Run function, right? If you go to the source root repo path, root path of that repo, you will see the actual full stack, the full Python application itself, which has the main.py, Docker file, requirements.txt and all that. It's not a Cloud Run function. It's rather a deployable full application. It's not a full stack. It's also a small application, but it is the orchestrator application. The reason I'm asking you to go here is I'll explain the code directly from here. Now click main.py on the root of the repo, root folder, which is video-context-crj. I'll explain the code here and then we'll go ahead and clone. Okay, so what we're doing here is this Python application is orchestrating your Cloud Run function that we've just deployed with your Cloud Run jobs pipeline, which we'll create shortly. So first things first, we are mandatorily setting up environment variables. We're setting the project, we're setting the project ID, dataset ID, table name for source and table name for target. In this case, both the same. And then we have URL processor service. You have to replace this with replace in the sense you have to set this as one of the environment variables with your Cloud Run function endpoint. Remember, I asked you to copy the endpoint when your Cloud Run function was deployed. If you don't know where it is, go back to your Cloud Run functions tab. You should see that in the top right corner, right next to the text URL. So that there's a copy to clipboard button there. Click that. That is your endpoint URL. Save it somewhere. You'll need to come back to it. Yeah, I'm going to paste it here in the BigQuery tab itself so I can use it. Yeah. Going back to the code lab, to the repository. Scroll down. What we're doing here, we are initializing BigQuery client. We are fetching the records with status pending. Why are we doing that? Because we want to take only the rows for which the processing has not happened yet. So we'll fetch the records where status is still pending. Go to the main function, then you'll understand the flow. Where is the main method? Okay, here we are. So what we're doing is, as first step, we're initializing the BigQuery client, and then we are, where is it? I'm invoking this method. There we go. Process batch from BQ. So that is the first method that we're invoking. Now see what this method is doing. There we go. This method, first it fetches, since we have already initialized the BigQuery client, it fetches all the records with status pending. And batch size we have limited to 5. It will fetch only 5 records at a time where status is pending. Then what it does is it marks the statuses as processing. And then what it does it processes your whatever you did in the Cloud Run functions, right? So that is getting invoked here, and that function is running here. Um, Processed results. So this is where we are doing that particular part. Call for your call URL processor service. So this is the function, or sorry, this is the uh, place where you're running your Cloud Run function, which we just deployed and we tested, right? So this is the part where that is running. And once that is complete, it goes back to BigQuery and it writes the result in the field called context. Where is that? Sorry, not context. Yeah, context. Context. There we go. So process result, it writes in the field called context, update BQ row, data context, and data status. It is also updating status as completed. That's it. These are the three steps. I'm not going through every single line of the code lab because we have to complete it. Sorry, of the code because we have to complete it. But just know that this is a main function. There are two functions. One is the overall flow, which is processing batch. What it does is it fetches max 5 records from the table that are having status as pending. And once it fetches those, it changes the statuses to processing. And while it is processing, what it is doing is it is calling the endpoint which you have just deployed. And then once the processing is complete, it writes it back, both the output and the status as completed. That's all. Output will be the JSON variable, which we saw, JSON structure that we saw in the testing time, right? So that's pretty much it. So moving on to the last part of this particular step, which is application setup. So we know now what this application is doing. Let's go ahead and clone it so we can get started. So as you can see right here, there is a git clone command here. Copy that code sample, come back to your Cloud Shell terminal where you have the, yeah, this is also fine. But we don't want to be, where are we right now? One second, let me just see where I am. Okay, make sure so you can open a new tab. That's not a problem. Open link in new tab. Make sure you're logged into the right account again, and make sure your project that you want to work on is showing up, and make sure you open Cloud Shell terminal. I'm going to clear it for convenience. So I already have this project cloned. So that's why it's showing that project folder. In your case, you won't see anything here. This will be what you're seeing, your prompt, your account ID followed by your project ID. This is what you'll see. Now paste the git clone command that you just copied. All right, and hit enter. In my case, it already exists, so it won't write, but that's okay. You just go ahead and do this git clone step. Once you clone the git repo, click the open editor button on top of the Cloud Shell terminal. It will open your editor and it will show the newly cloned project folder. So as you can see right here in my video context CRJ project, I have the project contents similar to what you see in my screen. You should also see Docker file license main.py readme requirements.txt. And you will also see one more thing, which is Cloud Run function. We need to get rid of that folder because you already deployed your function. It's no longer needed. I just kept it there, so it's all there in one place. But since you already deployed it, get rid of the Cloud Run function folder completely. How you get rid of it? Right click on the folder that you want to delete and scroll to the bottom. You'll see delete permanently option. Click that and that folder and the subfolder and its contents will be gone. Don't delete the video context CRJ repo. That's your main project folder. Just delete the Cloud Run function folder within that. Yeah. And once you delete that, you have all the important files that you need for this pipeline application. Show of hands, how many of you completed till this point? Okay, thank you for confirming. So let's go back and go to the code lab and see what we're doing next. We have cloned it. We have deleted the Cloud Run function folder. Now we have to navigate into the project folder and confirm whether you have these four important things: Docker file, main.py, readme requirements.txt. Once you see that, move to the next step in the code lab, which is Docker file setup and containerization. We need to containerize it. We've already seen what is there in the pipeline, but first things first, if you go to main.py, just make sure you see the environment variables set up on top. So even though we are going to populate the Docker file, let's also do one thing, just set it up manually also. Not a, uh, it's not a big deal, just a few lines of command, which is not there in the code lab. It's optional, but I encourage you to do it, which is to execute the, set the environment variables in your terminal as well, which is just export. So I'll ping that syntax for that. Just give me a second. So you have to replace these with your values. Yeah. Source and target, I hope you have all selected the same. You've not changed the name of the table. So it's going to be pretty straightforward. Same thing. Data set should also be same. CV hyphen metadata, if I'm not wrong. Yeah. And then post session labs is your source and target. The only thing you have to be accurate right here is instead of the placeholder text, replace that with your project ID. Remove the angle brackets as well. Yeah. So I'm going to paste this export statement here in the um, meeting chat. Wait, I'm not able to go to the meeting chat. Okay, here we are. It's a table. Source table, target table is the same thing. We are using the same table. I just kept it for convenience purposes. Initially, I thought I'll use multiple tables. That's why. All right. So I have pasted the export statements. The only thing you need to change, unless you have changed the dataset name and table name, nothing else needs to change except your project ID, BigQuery hyphen project. Replace that with your project. Now execute this export statement one by one in your Cloud Shell terminal, like I'm going to do right now. Yeah. So I'll authorize this. Where am I? Okay, here I am. I'm going to switch to terminal. I'm going to run this one by one. My project ID is what? CVS11 hyphen Abhi. I'll copy this. Similarly, you have to replace that with your project ID. Run this four together or one by one, either way is fine, but make sure all four are set. What? Did I do something? Why am I not able to? Second. Oh, export all small. I don't know why I typed caps. Are you able to see my screen? All small, not caps. My bad. Because the variable name was caps, I just continued with that. So let me replace the text that I've pasted for you. Export. Let me test this. Okay. So here we go. I'll paste this now. So you're all able to just copy paste this. Export is not caps, all small. Yeah. Just copy that and run it from your Cloud Shell terminal. We'll also change this in the, set this in the, this thing as well, Docker file as well, but it's also important. It's optional, but it's a good practice to have it in your local as well. So if you're testing the application locally, it'll still work. So make sure you've set this and go back to the editor. So once you have set this locally, open your Docker file. We'll include the snippet here as well. once you cloned, you probably are not seeing this particular part where your env is not set, right? So go to the code lab, go to step number 7, Docker file setup. Go to step number 7. If you see the first snapshot, screenshot over there is of my Docker file. Not screenshot, it's a code snippet, is of my Docker file. There is a snippet which sets the environment variables, which is not there in the clone repo. You would not see it. Why? Because that's what this code lab snippet is for. Just define the environment variables for configuration. What we did locally, we want to do it for the Docker file as well, so that when you're containerizing it and deploying it, this will kick in, right? So copy this env part, or you can just copy the whole thing. You can copy the entire Docker file, or you can just copy this part. Go back to your Cloud Shell editor, um, and replace this, just like I'm doing it right now again. Now, it says your project, replace that with your project ID. I'm going to replace that with my project ID, which is CVS 11 AB. Whatever is yours, replace that there. Yeah, here. Dataset name, like you all know, it's CV underscore metadata. It's there in the local variables that I sent to you. Use that. Table source and destination, both are same. Source and target, same, which is post underscore session underscore labs. Destination is also post underscore session underscore labs. Endpoint. So this is the one part that you need to be careful about, which is the Cloud Run functions that you just deploy. So go to the Cloud Run functions, or wherever you copied it, go to that part, copy that entire endpoints, or go to Cloud Run function source itself. You will be able to see the URL, copy it from there, come back here and paste it in the endpoint for processing. That's it. You should be all set, save it, or just it'll be auto saved anyway. And you're all good to go. You should be able to test this application directly, but we're not going to test, we're going to directly build and containerize, right? But I'll take a pause here. Show of hands, how many of you completed this step? Clone the repo, set up local environment variables, and change the environment variables in the Docker file. That's it, these 3 steps. Environment variables change in Docker file. Once you clone, you may not see the env part in the repo, but you will see that in the code lab. If you open the code lab in step 7, there is a define environment variables configuration there. So copy that those 6 lines, including the comment. You'll have to replace the placeholders, your project, your data set, your source table, your endpoint for video processing, your destination table. While data set, source, and destination tables are same for all of us, project ID will be different for each one of you. Endpoint will be different for each one of you. So populate those variables and you're all set. We'll go to the next step, which is containerization. Copy the first line, just the first line of the 2 commands in the containerize part. Copy that and paste it somewhere where you can actually change the project ID. Replace the placeholder, including the 2 angle brackets, and replace that with your project ID. And copy that export command, come back to your editor or terminal. Switch between editor and terminal by clicking the open terminal button and paste it. What we are doing right now is we are setting the container image. We're defining the container image path. So you see that right there. So when we are going to deploy or configure the jobs, you'll choose a container from here. So export that, done. Now for the next part, which is the actual build. You're building your project and delivering the container in that part. So copy that second line of the containerization command, which is gcloud builds submit --tag $container image, which is a variable that you've set above. And then dot represents your source code in that particular folder. So what you need to do, you need to be within the folder where your project lives. So if it is just showing your root folder, don't go for it. Don't paste it or your build command here. Do cd -project name. What is your project name? Video -context -crj. So navigate into it. You're all able to see my screen, right? Someone ping in chat? Yeah. Okay. Thank you. All right. So now make sure you're inside your project's root folder, because if you're not inside your project folder and you're one level outside of it, accidentally, if you're not in, I mean, we never navigated into the project folder, so naturally you won't be in it. So make sure you do the change directory step and then paste the build command that we just copied. Now this will containerize it and drop your image in that location. Waiting for build to complete. It's going on. It will take a few seconds here. While it's going on, can you all confirm you're all waiting for containerization like I am? Show of hands, please. Okay. Okay. Show of hands, please, if you've completed. My build, this my thing is complete and my image is saved. I have the path to my image. Show of hands. Okay. Invalid value for source. Like I said, you have to replace the values in the Docker file. Go to Docker file. Make sure you're inside the project's repository, which is the root folder. That is mandatory. Second thing, open editor. Make sure, look at my screen for a second and see if you're having the snippet. If not, you have to replace the values. If it says your source and all, it won't work. It has to be accurate. I don't think we changed anything else apart from these things. If you're lost, step 7 has all the details. Step 6 and 7. Step 6, after cloning, we didn't do much. We deleted the Cloud Run function folder because it's not needed in our container. And then we just navigated into the project folder and then Docker file setup. The original Docker file that you cloned will not have this environment variable configuration. You have to configure it forcefully from the code lab, copy paste it and replace the placeholders with your values. And once you've done that, you should be able to successfully build containerize. Next step, this is the last part. Let's just finish this. While the job is still running, we know that the function is working. We're just going to kick off the job and we're just going to discuss the concepts. That's pretty much it. Let's do it in the next 2 minutes and then we'll take questions. Yeah. Cloud Run jobs creation. So show of thumbs, how many of you got your containers done? Packages, everything. Yeah, cool. All right, thanks. Let's go to the code lab and see step 8, which is Cloud Run jobs. So now we have the Cloud Run function, which does the URL processing. Now we have the pipeline that connects the processing and the about to be created Cloud Run jobs. So let's create the Cloud Run jobs right now. What are Cloud Run jobs? Like I said before, this is used for packaging your application and allowing it to run and execute in a batch mode. However you process it, whether you want to run it parallelly or you want to run it sequentially. The whole point of this was to avoid sequential processing. So we are doing it in parallel and we're doing 2 different kinds of parallel, which we'll address in a little bit. So if you're still confused about what it is or don't know, just go to the overview page. There is a neat differentiation between this Cloud Run and Cloud Run job. Cloud Run services offer long-running request-driven applications where you need the endpoint. We want to reuse the endpoint. Whereas Cloud Run jobs are for finite task-oriented batch processing that runs to completion. So the job will run to completion and that's it. Your service won't be requested multiple times. It's only the number of times you want the jobs to be run. That's all. Yeah. So now once this is done, let's go to Cloud Run jobs creation. So you're here. If you want to copy the hyperlink from here, that's fine too. Otherwise, just go to your Google Cloud Console Right click the Google Cloud logo, open link in new tab. Yeah. Make sure you're able to see the search bar. In the search bar, type, you can close the terminal if it tries to open again. You don't need it right now. Just search for Cloud Run Jobs. You should see jobs in the first, in the list of autocomplete or auto list options. Choose the jobs and you should be able to see the jobs console. Click deploy container. All the steps are there in the code lab. Just follow that. In the container image URL, select, click select, go to your project, open that, expand that, and expand the batch URL processor orchestrator, which is the name of the container as well. And then the latest version, and click select. That's it. So as you can see, your job name is there. Region, you can select US Central 1. And then number of tasks, number of times to run the container. Go to the code lab. Just see what is mentioned there. Number of tasks is 20. The number of times to run the container, all tasks must succeed in order for a job to succeed. You can keep it as 10 or 20 or whatever you want. I'm just going to keep it as 10. How many times we want to run the container? We just want to run, we only have 7 records. We only want to run it 10 times. Uh, Even that is not required because one time we have 2 types of parallel processing running. One is the number of instances you kick off your job for, and 2, the number of batch processing records we are doing there. We are already setting the batch processing for 5 records at a time. So at the max, we need only 2 tasks, but it's okay. We're just setting it so you know. All right. And expand the container, volumes, connections, and security. From here, what we're going to do, go back to the code lab and set capacity, task timeout. We don't have to change anything in the resources part. Just leave it as that. Scroll down and go to the part section where you see task capacity. And task timeout is showing 10. Leave it as it is. 10 minutes is okay. Number of retries, leave it as it is. Limit the number of tasks. If it allows you to, it is not giving you custom parallelism limit, so leave it. Just run as many tasks currently as possible. Because this is trial billing account, I don't know if you have the ability to select more than that. So for now, just leave it with the default value. This may or may not reflect, this may not reflect the actual behavior of your proper quota, like a proper billing account. This is a trial billing account and its credibility is only limited to a as applicable to a trial project. So that's why you don't see the like I'm not able to set more than 0 parallelism here. So I'm just going to run as many tasks concurrently as possible. Ideally, I would have just wanted to run 1 in parallel. If you see, I've set it as 1 in my case. The reason I'm choosing 1 is also mentioned here. You know why? Because we are doing database write. As I told you, we are going to write the context back to the BigQuery database's output. And we are going to write the status also back into database. So we don't want multiple jobs doing the writes parallelly at the time. Just the logic that I went by. But if your scenario or your use case is completely different and you're handling concurrency differently, you can feel free to set your maximum parallelism limit to whatever you want for a production application. In this case, I'm not setting it more than, I'm not able to because I'm using a trial billing account just like you. So I'm just choosing it as run as many as possible. Just leave it at that. And then go ahead and click create. That's pretty much it. So once you click create, it'll take a few seconds for it to complete it. We didn't choose execute once created. So it will just create the job. So you have to go back and see if the job is created or not. So it is created, no executions. Why? We did not kick it off. So select that. Okay, you can't select it. Just click the link. It'll open up. Click the execute button. I'll click it and then you can wait. The execution is kicked off. Show of hands, how many of you successfully configured and clicked create and then clicked execute? If you've not been able to do it, it's there. All the steps we've just followed the code lab for step number 7, 6, 7, 8. Nothing is different. Yeah. If not, you'll get the video recording as well. So you can go back and follow all the steps. So what's going on in the background? If you do the refresh on this page, you'll see that this is still running. Yeah. So what exactly is going on here? Like I said, it will pick the records, batch size 5 that are marked as status pending. All right. and then it will change the statuses to processing, and then it invokes the thread pool executor and submits a task for each URL in the batch. Each task calls the call URL processor service, which we have already defined is the Cloud Run function, which does your YouTube processing. When the request is complete, what we're doing is we are collecting the response based on their row ID, writing their response, that is the context field, and the status as success or failure, depending on that particular row's execution. Once successful, the instance exits clearly. If not, it raises an exception and flags it and tries to retry, because we have configured 3 retries. Otherwise, it just, after 3 tries, it just ends the execution, potentially flagging your issue. That's all. That's what happens. So what exactly stands out here? First of all, serverless batch processing. You can set up maximum instances as much as you want. In this case, we are using a trial billing account, so don't compare this with your parallelism that's originally possible in your real world scenarios, right? So, and there's max instances and task concurrency. So we have enabled both. Max instances, how many jobs do you want to run in parallel overall? In our case, we are running only one job in parallel overall, because we have handled task concurrency already in the code. We're already running 5 in parallel. That's why. Right? Fault tolerance. If a job instance fails midway, it is configured to retry and end gracefully. Simplified architecture. We are not using PubSub. We are not using any other complex integrations. No other state management within the code, within the application. Everything is handled within the scope of your Cloud Run job and your orchestrator. That's it. That's pretty much it. That's what's happening here. Let's go back and see what's going on here. I'll refresh this. It's still going on. It'll take a while. That's okay. But while it is running, you can come back here and see how many of these records are in pending or processing status. So all of these records are in processing status, which is okay. So whether or not it's running, it's completing, that's a different thing. Our goal is not right now to look at the output of the context and validate whether it's accurate or not. That's for later use cases, depending on what is valuable for you. But for now, our main use case is how to set up this Cloud Run job and how to achieve parallelism, whether you want to do it in sequential or synchronous mode or an asynchronous mode, depending on how you configure your application. In our case, the job run is asynchronous, but the logic of the processing itself is synchronous. We want to complete the entire processing for the record that it is it's running in parallel, but each particular row that is being processed is same through completion. And then we update the status of the record right away. Your kickoff, the orchestrator itself is async. Right? So anyway, going out of this, we'll have to also talk about what you have to submit for results here. If you go to the Code Vipassana page, you don't have to go right now. I'll read it for you. What you need to submit as a result. Step 8 of the code lab, set task capacity screenshot. So go to step 8 of the code lab, which is what we are in right now. Sorry, which is not what we are in. We completed it and then we are in step 9. But in step 8, if you see point number 4, set task capacity as follows. This create job. This is what you need to submit a screenshot. The reason why the screenshot is there in the code lab is these are the kind of code labs which are different for a trial billing account versus a production billing account. So you may not see the same screen. Like in your case, setting 1 was not possible, right? So that's why you copy the screenshot from the code lab itself. So this particular screen right here is what you need to image is what you download this image, save image as JPEG in JPEG format, and that is what you need to submit in the result submission app. What you need to submit and when you need to, where you need to submit, all the details will be sent in email along with the session recording as well. But still, I'm going to give you the details here right now in the meeting chat as well, just for you to be aware. In case you already got to this point. You all already got to this point. So go ahead and submit the result anyway, because you know what's going on. You can complete the lab if some problem is there in the flow and you're stuck somewhere. It's okay. You can go back and fix it. But since you know what is going on and why we did what we did, that's more important. The understanding is more important for this particular code lab. Otherwise, I wouldn't say that. All right, executing and monitoring. So once it's complete, we are in the step where we wanted to check how many are completed status and all. It's probably still going on, so I'm not hoping to see any result quickly. But just know that once this complete, you will see the result right here. It's possible that there's something different in the way it's configured, or your project ID wasn't set correctly, or your Vertex AI, the Gemini Flash is not accepting this URL or recognizing this URL, or your prompt is all of a sudden not working. Many reasons why the context won't be populated. We don't know that. So don't worry about it. If you're able to configure and if you're able to kick off the job, that's fine. The nitty-gritty is about whether it's working fine, whether the processing has completed for each of the cloud run function is not in focus. So don't worry about it. But go back and check at your own time, because right now it will still take some time. So go back and check at your own time once the process complete, whether your records are loaded or not. So result analysis, as you can see in the screenshot, I have posted a result for one of the output for rows. This is the kind of output I'm expecting to see in the column. Um, I can show it to you where this was already deployed, so you can see that here. I'll show it here. CV filter data. It's not there. Okay, I'm just trying to see if I have an old out record snapshot snippet, but that's okay. I have it here in the screenshot. Uh, oh, it's in a different data set. BG Gemini test 2. My bad. Okay, so I'm going to show you the result of completed application. As you can see right here, I have my record set here and the description, and what you expect to get populated after the thing is complete is the context part. This context needs to be populated once your task is complete, similar to what you're seeing right here. Um, it's okay if you don't see it right now. It will take some time. If not, maybe there is a thing that you have to go back and fix in your Cloud Run function or something like that. But ultimately, when you complete the processing, you'll be able to check that. Show of hands, how many of you successfully saw your Cloud Run jobs configuration and able to create and execute the Cloud Run job? Show of hands, please. Okay, cool. Yeah, all the sessions recordings will be available for you in the Code Vipassana page, and they were also sent to you in email. I can show the Docker file really quickly. Someone was asking that. There we go. Here is a Docker file. So while this is going on for some of you, I just wanted to highlight, since this is the last session for the season, you will receive the email regarding today's session's recording and backup credits in case you want to try it out again. Everything will be there in email tomorrow, but just notice, just wait for Code Labs core and other things to be updated 2 days from now. And once that is done, you will be able to access Troubleshooter Challenge if you are a Code Lab champion or lab champion. If you're a lab champion, you will be notified. So how will you know? Either you completed submission of all 5 labs in the season, or last season you were already a lab champion. You were there in the leaderboard. One of these two things, if they're true, you will be, if it is true, you will be able to take the troubleshooter challenge. But not today, not tomorrow. You'll only be able to take it 2 days from now, because we'll still await your submissions. The last day of this month, which is September 30th, 29th to 30th, you'll be able to take the Troubleshooter Challenge, which is a one-page quiz. It's not accessible until you become a lab champion. So whether or not you'll become a lab champion depends on whether you complete all 5 sessions, screenshots or results this season, or you're already a lab champion. Then you'll be able to take the Troubleshooter Challenge. You will get the details for Troubleshooter Challenge in your email. If you want to see, it's there in the Code Lab, sorry, in Code Vipassana's landing page itself. If you go to Troubleshooter Level Challenge menu item here, you'll be able to see the questions and the app here, which allows you to take the quiz by providing your lab code and your full name, and then start challenge. Your lab code will not work. Like if I'm trying to take the challenge, it won't work for folks who are not lab champions, right? So you will be a lab champion. You will know whether or not you're lab champion once you submit all the five this time. Yeah. Certificate for lab champions and mm, attendees will be provided. And for troubleshooter challenge leaderboard folks, you will get a different kind of certificate. So three levels of certificate this season. One is the troubleshooters level, one is lab champion level, and the last one is the reason why we don't have both lab champ. Some folks will be lab champions, but they won't be able to successfully pass the troubleshooter challenge. So that's why, but that's okay. You can always become a troubleshooter challenge. Sorry, troubleshooter in the next season. There's always more challenges coming up. So for now, if you complete five labs, you'll be a lab champion. If you complete troubleshooter challenge, you'll be troubleshooter. If you've just attended 3 or 4 sessions this season and submitted only 1 or 2 labs, that's fine. You will still get a certificate from GLG Cloud Coaching. Yeah. Um, yeah, we are not talking about Gemini CLI today. We have discussed that quite briefly. So I'll just stick around for 5 more minutes. I want to open up for questions. Okay? Troubleshooter challenge is also time bound, but that's okay. We have time. It doesn't matter. Usually, it's a quiz. You have to complete it within once you open it. You can't session out. If you submit it once, you won't be able to resubmit it. Let me stop recording.